Your brain is telling you a story right now. A story about who you are, what you're doing, and why you're doing it. But here's the thing. What if that storyteller is, well, a bit of a liar? So, let's get into it.
So where do we even begin? Well, our investigation starts not with some ancient philosophy, but with a fascinating neuroscience experiment that totally flipped our understanding of our own minds on its head.
And this really gets to the heart of it all, doesn't it? This is the big question for this entire explainer. If that little narrator in your head is unreliable, how can you ever really know what's real?
Okay, get this. It's called the split brain experiment. A command, walk, is shown only to a patient's right brain. That's the part that controls action, but not speech. So the patient just gets up and starts walking. But here's the wild part. When a researcher asks, "Hey, why are you walking?" The left brain, the part with language, has no clue. It never saw the command. But does it say, "I don't know"? Nope. Instantly, without skipping a beat, it just invents a totally plausible story. "I'm going to get a drink." It just makes something up to make the action make sense.
So what did scientists call this storyteller in our head? They call it the interpreter module. It's a part of your left brain, and its whole job is to weave a coherent narrative out of all the chaotic information coming in. And here's the kicker. Its top priority isn't the truth, it's just telling a story that makes sense. Which means our own brain can, and absolutely does, invent fictions to explain our reality to us.
So if modern science reveals this fundamental problem with our own minds, where on earth do we look for an answer? Well, it turns out an ancient philosophical text tackled this exact issue thousands of years ago.
The Mandukya Upanishad. And this isn't about religion or faith in the way you might think. It's more like a user's manual, a deep philosophical investigation into the very nature of consciousness and reality. It's asking the same question the split brain experiment forces us to ask: what can we actually trust?
This text is pretty incredible. It's super short, just 12 verses, but it lays out a complete framework for understanding reality. And it does it by analyzing the 4 fundamental states of consciousness that every single one of us experiences every single day.
So let's start walking through this ancient map, okay? It begins with 2 states of being that we all know inside and out: being awake and dreaming.
Okay, so in the waking state, which the text calls Vaishanara, your consciousness is processing data from the outside world, right? Through your senses. But in the dreaming state, Tajasa, your consciousness is processing data that's generated internally. Your mind is the movie projector, the screen, and the audience all at once. The only real difference is the source of the data.
And this brings us to a classic philosophical puzzle, one that this ancient story just captures perfectly. If both the waking world and the dream world feel completely real while you are in them, how can you be so sure that one is real and the other is just an illusion?
The philosopher Gaudapada, who studied this text, brilliantly tears down our usual arguments. We say, well, the waking world is real because it's continuous. I wake up in the same bed. But Gaudapada points out, you never notice the moment a dream starts. It always feels continuous too. Then we say, okay, but it's a shared reality. Fair enough. But as Gaudapada notes, 1,000 people can watch a magic trick and all share the same illusion. Sharing an experience doesn't automatically make it real.
Okay, this is where things get even weirder. We've talked about waking and dreaming, but what about that third state we enter every single night, the one that's way more mysterious? Deep, dreamless sleep.
The text calls this Sushupti. Think about it. In this state, there are no dreams, no thoughts, no world. There isn't even a you. All the complexity of your personality, your memories, your worries, it all just collapses into a single point of potential, a state of pure peace. And here's the paradox, and it's a brilliant one. When you wake up, what do you say? You say, I slept great, I knew nothing. Wait a second, hold on. If there was no you there, who is this witness? Who is the I that experienced the absence of everything? There must be some kind of observer that's still online, even when the rest of your mind is completely silent. And that silent observer? That's the key to this whole thing. It leads us to the 4th and final piece of the puzzle. And it's not another state. It's the very foundation of reality itself.
This is called Turiya, which simply means the 4th. But it's not a state you enter after deep sleep. No, the idea is that Turiya is the ever-present, unchanging awareness that's been there the whole time. It was there when you were awake, there when you were dreaming, and there when you were in deep sleep. It's the one constant in your entire existence.
The best analogy?
and it's a great one, is a cinema screen. Seriously, think about it. You can project movies of fire, water, war, peace, anything you want. The images change constantly, but the screen itself is never burned by the fire or soaked by the water. The screen is the background that allows all the movies to be seen. Turiya is that screen. Your waking life, your dreams, your deep sleep, they're all just movies playing on it.
Upanishads even maps this onto the symbol Om. The sound A represents the waking state. U is the dream state. M is deep sleep. But what's the most important part? It's the silence after the sound ends. That silent, ever-present background that the sound came from and dissolves back into, that is Turiya.
So, after this whole mind-bending journey from neuroscience to ancient philosophy, we are left with a huge, practical question for our daily lives.
I mean, if this world, our jobs, our families, our struggles, our joys, if it's all just another movie playing on the screen of consciousness, then what's the point? Why should we care about any of it?
The answer this philosophy gives is pretty subtle, but it's powerful. It says to think of life as a game. The rules, the goals, they only matter inside the game. But saying this is just a game so I'm not playing, well, that's also a move within the game. You can't actually escape it. Whether you follow the rules or break them, whether you help another player or just ignore them, you are still playing. Your actions are part of the illusion, sure, but so is your decision not to act.
So the final question isn't about whether you should play the game or not. It's about identity. The Upanishad asks us to consider, have you been confusing yourself with a character in the movie, when all along, you might just be the screen itself? Definitely something to think about.